to Basketball Heads Live. I'm your host, Glenn Pooh Harding. And tonight, this show dedicated to my brother, Roderick Harding. Rest in peace, bro. We're saying that, we have a very special guest tonight. This basketball head is a Staten Island legend from Moore Catholic High School. He averaged a staggering 26 points per game and racked up an amazing 2,566 points during his high school career, ranking him 10th all-time in New York State. He didn't do this against bums either. Everybody got that work. This basketball head is a two-time recipient of the Warren Jacquest Award, given annually to Staten Island's best high school player. In his senior year, he was New York Class A Player of the Year, New York City Scholar Athlete of the Year, four-time All-Conference selection, in addition to 2 All-City and All-State nods. He is the first player in Moore Catholic history to letter in basketball 4 years, while having his number 23 jersey retired. Things was just getting started because this basketball head accepted a scholarship to Notre Dame, the University of Notre Dame, that is, where he continued to light it up. As y'all saw from my post earlier, him giving North Carolina the business, while Dick Vitale gave him high praise. At Notre Dame, he earned EA Sports Maui Invitational All-Tournament, first team All-Big East in 2007, Notre Dame Comeback Player Award in 2008, and the Team Irish Award in 2009. After college, he played a few years in France, giving up people in France a show, like his fellow Shaolin members of Wu-Tang. After the ball stopped bouncing, he returned home to coach at his alma mater for 2 years. Now, he's an agent for Priority Sports. Without further ado, help me welcome to the show, Staten Island legend, Moore Catholic Hall of Fame inductee, and Notre Dame great, Cal McAloney.
Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Yes. You have just stepped into the world of chaos. Where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Or go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. East Coast. Go hard. West Coast. Go hard. Midwest. Go hard. Dirty. Hurry up, everybody, get online, buy your tickets, cause the game about to start.
What's up, Cal?
What's up, man? How are you? Thanks for that intro. That was incredible.
Thank you, my brother.
I appreciate
Listen,
it.
it's well worth it.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thanks for
You put
having
in
me
a
on.
lot of work over the years,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
for sure. And we got my guy, resident artist, Jamel Powell. You see over there hard at work. Can't see him behind the lights.
What's up, Jamel?
No. We got some things changing up over here. As you see, we got the new orange look. We had the red look. So now we go with the orange look
Looks
to match
great,
the whole
man.
basketball head vibe.
Looks great.
But let's jump right into the show, man.
No doubt.
Who introduced you to the game?
My parents did. I would say actually my older brother. He you know, I was 2 years young, still am 2 years younger than him, but he was in basketball and I was about 4 or 5 years old and I wasn't involved in it yet, at least that, you know, organized basketball. So I went to watch him play and I visibly remember this. I walked into the gym and there was a buzz there, there was an energy, the fans were there, and immediately I turned to my parents and I said, I want to play. And that was it, man. That was it. So
That's dope. That's dope.
just
Shout
wanted to
out to
be,
your big brother, man.
yeah,
Shout out to
yeah, no
Super
doubt.
brother.
Just wanted to be cool like Big Bro, you know?
I like to give a shout out to all those people who introduced us to the game, man, and made it special for us.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember your first game and how was your experience?
First game was, I do remember it. It was in Staten Island. It was in one of these CYO clinics. And here's the thing, at that point, I had already, so when I told my parents that I wanted to play, they got me and my brother a little hoop that we had in the street in front of our house. And that was like 6 to 8 months maybe before I joined to play. So for those 6 to 8 months, I was in front of my house every day. So the first game, I mean, from the first minute of the game, I was better than everybody else there. So
Wow.
yeah, but that's the story. So I was playing in front of my house before I even learned, you know, any rules or how to play organized basketball. I was just figuring out how to, you know, make a layup.
Yeah, you good.
Okay, lost you, man. I don't know what happened. You
Yeah.
got cut off when you started to talk about watching White Chocolate's interview.
Yeah, what I heard from him was just him practicing in the gym by himself. And people was the moderator was trying to figure out how he came up with all these moves. He was actually doing those things by himself.
Right.
So I could just imagine by the time your first game came, you was kind of prepared because you was living out those moments.
I was, because to this day, that's all I watch is basketball, you know? So once that I walked into the gym the first time and saw it, then it was on television. My mother was actually a really big Knicks fan at the time because it was the 90s. So it was the 90s Knicks. So
good time to be a Knicks fan.
yeah. So I would watch those games and then I would go try to do things in front of my house and try to mimic those moves and those plays. So I had a little bit of a leg up early on because of that. But also I have to give credit a lot to soccer. I played soccer when I was little and I was really good. So I was playing soccer every day and then playing basketball at night. There's a lot of crossover skills in there and angles and whatnot. So that gave me some early momentum for sure.
That's dope, man. That's dope. So when you was coming up, who was the best player in your neighborhood?
Timmy Highland. He went to Curtis High School. Timmy was he played, I don't remember the years exactly, but at the local YMCA, the West Brighton YMCA, Timmy was always there, and he was always the one where all the kids looked up to. So at that time when I was just coming up, it was Timmy. It was Timmy Highland. And I tried to model my game after him a little bit.
Right. So where did he play? Did he play at
I think Timmy, he was at Curtis. They had to have won because Curtis wins damn near every other year. And then after that, I think he went to UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I don't think he finished there though.
okay.
I think he only played there 3 years.
Cool.
And then of course, Andrew Wisniewski, who is, I think he's currently the JV coach at Zavarian. He also was around that North Shore YMCA a lot. And those two guys, for me, had a lot of influence over me early on. And they were great with me, right? Because I was that little kid who was so eager to learn from them and do what they were doing. And they were just great with me and very accessible and taught me a lot early on. So them two for me were really, really good. And then Staten Island always has good ball players, man. That's why I was eager to come on your show and talk about it.
Listen, I had to make sure I had to get out to Staten Island because, you know, I'm a Brooklyn guy. And obviously I'm going to be in the other boroughs. But as the research I was doing, I was like, man, Staten Island really do got some ball players. Looking down that list, and that's why when I ran into Neil and then met Red, I was just sending them these names. I was like, please, if we get half these names, I'm good.
No doubt. And I'll give you some more names too, because there's some guys out there that know a lot more about the history than I do. So, and they would be great to and happy to talk to you.
Definitely, definitely. So, my guy Victor Wells, ballaholic, right?
Yep, Victor.
Listen, legend in his own right. Okay, high school All-American. He's our OG, and he's still doing it.
Is he really?
Helping out the kids, running clinics, doing amazing tricks.
It's amazing.
And listen, when I put up that I was having you on the show, he was ecstatic. He was like, please let him know that, you know,
yeah,
I'm going to be checking in and that Cal is a great guy. So I'm glad you're doing the interview with him. So salute to my guy, Victor Wells.
No doubt. Victor was the man. He told me some tricks early on there. But really, one of the guys you need to talk to, man, is Jerry Mosley. And that's how I met Victor. So Jerry trained me my grammar school years up and then through high school. I worked with Jerry, and via working with Jerry, I met Victor. So Jerry Mosley early on for me was a big influence in my game. He allowed me to work with some older players. He taught me some advanced things. He was always pushing me to get better. And Jerry has been around a long time doing it. He's been, before being a trainer was cool, Jerry Mosley was doing it all over the island.
Definitely want to get him on there for sure. So when you was coming up, what parks had the most action on Staten Island?
Well, for me, Clove Lakes was, because that was kind of where I grew up. That was my neighborhood. But the North Shore YMCA, as I told you, where Timmy Highland and Andrew Wisniewski always were, you could find some good games there. There was a lot of St. Peter's players, a lot of Curtis players. Any schools that were in the North Shore used to go to the West Brighton YMCA, and there was some good pickup games there as I was coming up.
When did your name start buzzing around the island?
When I was a freshman in high school, I played varsity at Moore, and I was good, but I don't think I was the best on the island. I made the jump from my sophomore to junior year, and it was a big jump. And I think that's when my name really started to create a little bit of buzz and carry some speed with it, because very quickly the recruiting went from maybe he's a low D1 guy to Big East and ACC.
Because those 50 balls was dropping. You was dropping 50 balls. Yeah. I was like, he just putting up numbers crazy. Right? Well, and I tell people this all the time, being a ball player, when you see a guy who's a scorer and he's getting those kind of buckets, I say, man, listen, I don't care what level you on.
Yeah.
It's not easy getting buckets.
It's not easy.
Now, if you just play against bums all day, yes.
Right.
Right? But then, as I'm doing the research and talking to the guys on the island and people here in the city, they was like, yo, G, he the real deal.
Well,
not knocking Jim up for that, but
the joke that I made, man, was I was like a pure point guard up until that junior year. I was good, but I wasn't what I eventually became to be. I was a good shooter, but I wasn't a great shooter. And I remember my sophomore season having a conversation with my high school coach, and he told me, he said, listen, because the only thing I wanted to do was play Division I basketball. He said, if you want to play Division I basketball, you have to be different, because I'm only 5'11". So he said, all right, you're 5'11", you're not the quickest on the court, you need a butt, meaning B-U-T. He's small, but he's a little too slow, but what's your butt going to be? And so I started to get in the gym, obviously a lot, we can get into that. And very quickly shooting became just what I do. I all of a sudden my body started to change. I started to get stronger. My range increased, and that kind of separated me from everybody really quickly.
Right. Cool. So let's give some of the guys on your team that you played with some love. Who are some of the guys that you played with on Moore?
So on Moore, we weren't that good, man. I'll give a shout out to my guy Sean Pastiglione, who's a Division III head coach. But I'd rather talk about the class that we had on Staten Island. My class that graduated high school. We had myself. We had Moses Day. We had Ramsey Hill. We had Doug Elwell, who wound up playing at Wagner College. He'd be another great interview for you, Doug Elwell. He's a big trainer out in Staten Island now. We had Tommy Downing, who went to Curtis. And you know what, though, of that class, and then I'm just thinking now, and that I'm talking about Curtis, Zaire Williams. No, I'm sorry, Zaire Taylor. Zaire was my age. He was legit, man. He was the real deal. He kind of blossomed a little late, but Zaire Taylor, and he might be the toughest one-on-one cover in Staten Island. Zaire Taylor from Curtis. He has game, man. He has some serious game.
So that was the main competition, that class, those group of guys those are the beats on the album.
Yeah, that class, that was the group. That was the group.
How many of the Martin brothers you played against?
Just one, just Phil.
Okay. Because y'all was in the same class. That makes sense. That makes sense.
I think he was a little younger than I was.
Okay. So, did y'all play against any city schools? Or did you get a chance to compete against the guys in the boroughs?
We did. So we were in the A, which at that point, well, yeah, it was double A, then the A, and then the B. We were in the A. And we competed against everybody. I mean, Stepanak, LaSalle. We didn't compete against any of the double A schools. So no St. Raymond's, Christ the King. We didn't play those guys because only one team from Staten Island every year goes on to that division. And we never won the Catholic. It was always Farrell was really good when I was there. They also had Steve Rossiter, who went on to play at Davidson, and they pretty much won it during my tenure there at Moore. So we would always go to the second division. So we played Monsignor McClancy. I had 59 against Monsignor McClancy.
Yo, hold on. Who was on that team? Because let me tell you, I had about 5 guys from McClancy on here. And what I love about them, they all nominate each other.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember who was on that team, man, but it was in McClancy too. It was there. It was in their house. And one of them, their big guy, if you could find this out, their big guy started talking to me during the game. And I think I surprised people when I snapped back during my playing days. And that, I snapped back. And
nothing wrong with that, man. And if you could back it up, makes it even better.
Yeah. So I had 59 versus McClancy.
All right, now 59 versus McClancy. So Cal McElhonney, he grows up in Queens. He has to go to Christ the King. Does Cal McElhonney do the same thing he did at Moore Catholic at Christ the King?
I wouldn't have put up the same numbers. Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no. But I would have gotten to where I got to. And the reason why I say that, and I say that with confidence, is because of who I am. Like, I'm about the work. I identify with the work. And I don't care where I was. I mean, nobody was working harder than I was. So I would have got to where I wanted to get to. But no, I wouldn't have put up those same numbers. No way. I mean, to be honest, like I said, I was a point guard my first 2 years in high school. I had to transform myself, number one, because I didn't have much talent around me. So if we wanted to compete, it was kind of necessary. But number two, that was the only way for me to playing at that level to be able to separate myself, was to put up huge numbers.
Right. And you could put up huge numbers there and go to Notre Dame and not do anything. Right. And that wasn't the case.
Right.
That wasn't the case at all.
Or like when I went to ABCD camp and I was an all-star. So
let's talk about that experience. And for people who don't know, the ABCD camp, was it at Fairleigh Dickinson?
yep, it was at FDU. Yeah.
Yeah, my school. That's where I went. Let me tell you, it was a joy to see the high school kids come there and get their rec on.
It was
because
great, man. It was great.
We kind of find out who's going to be the best player before everybody else just by watching.
Right. Yeah, it was great, man. I remember Gerald Green was there when I was there. Man, I'd never seen anybody jump so high, man. Danny Green was there too. Danny Green was on my team that year. So
listen, and I heard Danny Green, no disrespect to his other teammates, but I heard Danny Green play with a bunch of bums. He was 6'3" and he played center. He made it to the league. Crazy.
He did. But, you know, guy like him, again, it's about the work, and he's working on the right things, and he became who he needed to be. And that's all I was trying to do by putting up those numbers. That's who I needed to be to get to where I wanted to go.
So now, what was the recruiting process like? And what were the schools that you visited?
So it was kind of crazy, man, because at first it was only Ivy League schools for a while. And then I went to one AAU tournament down in DC at Howard University, and I killed it. And after that one day, Notre Dame started to show interest, a lot of Big East schools. There was a lot of schools. I don't even remember, because a lot of times they didn't even get to me, because my high school coach, he got all the letters, and he, Bryant University, no, sorry, Notre Dame's called.
Yo, hold on, time out. Tech. Name that school again. The first one you named.
Bryant. Did you go there?
Not at all. I told you I went to Fairleigh Dickinson.
Oh, that's right.
What I'm saying is, Bryant has this thing where they give at least 500 freshmen letters.
That's right. I heard about this.
Every year.
Yeah, right.
So you see people popping up like, yeah, my son got an offer with Bryant. My son got an offer with Bryant.
Right.
But
so,
these, and I tell people, so I kept some of my letters so people could see the difference, right? Those are like the generic, right?
Right.
Those generic letters that everybody get, they send them joints out.
Right.
And it's no knock to, any guys who got letters or kids, because I'm not talking down to kids. We're talking about Bryant University.
Right.
Giving freshmen letters. I just think that's crazy.
Yeah. So there was a lot of schools involved, man, and I wiggled it down to Notre Dame, North Carolina State, St. John's, Columbia University in the Ivy, and Wake Forest. Wake Forest, I didn't go visit. I just didn't really vibe with Skip Prosser at the time as the head coach. I went to visit Columbia, North Carolina State, and Notre Dame, and I had a scheduled visit with St. John's that was coming up that I wound up canceling because I committed to Notre Dame. So, and
once you got down there, I know your mom was blown.
You know what? I was more impressed by North Carolina State at first. What did it for me, and everybody thinks it was like this. My last name is McElharney, so I have this Irish, heritage thing going on, and I'm Catholic, and everybody thinks it was like this easy decision for me to go to Notre Dame. But man, what it came down to for me was I had the opportunity to play as a freshman. That's what sold me on going to Notre Dame initially, was I got a chance to go where I'm going to play. And I tell kids that all the time when they're getting recruited now. Everybody has these big dreams of going to these different places. My advice is go somewhere where you're going to play. or at least have the chance to play and get in the lineup. For me, that was most important, was where am I going to get a chance to play right away? Because I don't want to wait. I don't want to sit there on the bench for 2 years.
Yeah, I say that all the time, Kyle. It's kids right now playing for North Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, who never got off that bench.
Yeah.
And they was highly recruited.
Yeah.
And they could have went somewhere and played and became a star.
And the transfer portal now in college is so crazy because kids they're told that they're these big time players when they're not, and they very quickly learn when they go these places that they're not, and then they're unhappy and they wind up transferring. So go somewhere where you're going to play, and that's what did it for me for Notre Dame.
That's dope, and it fits your playing style.
That it did too. So did NC State. NC State did as well. And Columbia, I don't know if you remember Joe Jones. He's at BU, Boston University now. He was the head coach there. That was my guy, man. If he was at a different school, I would have went with him from the beginning. He was my favorite coach. But going to the Ivy League schools, they can't offer full athletic scholarships. So my parents were blue collar family. Like, I didn't want to put that burden on them. So we, it all worked out. But Coach Joe Jones at Columbia, that's my guy. He was the first one to recruit me, and I felt a really strong sense of loyalty towards him, and I loved the way that he coached. So,
wow. So you're at Notre Dame now. New environment, whole new city,
yeah,
whole nother part of the country. What adjustments did you have to make as a freshman?
A lot, man. If you want to talk about basketball or off the court, because
we talking about both. They're all adjustments, right? You're a student athlete, so everything comes with it.
Yeah. So, yeah, you have to. What was easy for me, the transition to the work was easy for me, because once again, that's what I identify with as a player, was the work. And in high school, I was to get up early in the morning and work out. So a lot of times that gets to kids when they get to college is, man, they didn't know how much work it was. For me, that was no problem. I was like, this is what I wanted. So that was kind of easy for me. That I loved. I guess the being on your own academically is a different beast, when you don't have, people down your necks telling you breathing down your neck, telling you what homework you need to do, what you need to do on this thing, whatever. So organizing my life was, like any kid, like any 17, 18-year-old, when they go off on their own, like that's a big time adjustment. And then being away from my family, man, was really tough the first year. But I didn't, basketball-wise on the court, obviously you're playing against quicker, better, stronger players. And the Big East was, my 4 years at Notre Dame, the Big East was crazy back then. So I had to, which that summer I learned a lot playing against Chris Quinn, who wound up playing in the NBA for a couple of years. He's going to be a head coach soon. He used to kill me every day in practice, but that got me ready for the season.
Wow. Somebody said Jerry Mosley.
Yeah, that's Jerry, the one I told you about before, who trained me when I was
got you. Salute, Jerry, salute.
Yeah, big time salute. He's one you should have on your podcast, because he's been around Staten Island basketball for a long time. He's worked with some of the better players, and he's got a hell of a story, and he gives back to so many kids. So he's definitely someone you should have on your podcast.
Oh, we're going to make that happen, man. Definitely. I appreciate that. So, now, this is the James Majors question. James Majors played in the Big East as well at Seton Hall. James Majors, he said on their road trips, the coach used to give the guys $5 a day for meal money. Now, this is 1983 to about 86, 87, right? $5 a day in the Big East. I went to Fairleigh Dickinson from 88 to 92. We were getting like 200 or something. And we go on the West Coast. And this is all legal, right? This is part of the per diem package that come when you go on trips, road trips.
Right.
How do they take care of you guys in Notre Dame?
Well, whatever per diem we would get, I mean, we were so well fed, you wouldn't use it. We traveled very luxuriously, and we were spoiled, man. We were very, very spoiled. You wouldn't go hungry because
there you go.
Every 10 minutes you turn around, you're getting fed. I mean, and I mean this, like we would have practice, and then we would go on the bus. They would, give us all the recovery stuff on the bus. Then you get to the plane, which was a private chartered plane. There'd be sandwiches with brownies and chips and drinks on the plane. You get to hotel, you have a 4-course meal waiting for you, and then you have snack at night, which is like basically your second or third dinner. It was, we were well fed, man. We were well fed.
Listen, Cal, just say, welcome to big time basketball.
Yeah. That's right.
For sure. So now, freshman year, you get some playing time. What would you say was your breakout game?
That's a good question. I could remember a couple, but I would say my freshman year, I had a really good game versus Marquette, but I think probably Villanova at the time. And the reason why is because I was able to play so much was Villanova at the time, Randy Foy, Alan Ray, Mike Nardi, and Kyle Lowry.
Dogs.
They were the inventors of small ball. So those 4 guards played the entire game. So at Notre Dame, it was myself, Chris Quinn, Colin Falls, and Russell Carter. We had to play to match their speed. So just because I was on the court the most that game, that was probably my best game. I think I had like 12 points, hit a couple threes, tried to guard some of those guys for a few possessions. So that I remember that game gave me a lot of confidence to finish that year out.
Cool. So now I posted something earlier, with you playing against North Carolina with Dickie V on the mic. What year was that?
That was my senior year.
Senior year.
Senior. Yep.
What did you have on your mind that game?
I'm playing against North Carolina, man. I'm launching. That's what I'm doing.
And that game was on national television too, right?
It was on national television. It was in Maui, and it was the championship game of the Maui. We had just beat Indiana and Texas, and I was just like a little kid, man. Like we're playing against North Carolina. Yeah, I'm gonna be extra aggressive this game, because why not, man? It's my senior year. I'm playing UNC, and I was very realistic about my future, but I wasn't gonna give anybody, let anybody just walk all over us. So, that was fun. That was a lot of fun, and that game, man, that game follows me to this day.
Great job, man. Great job. So you got comeback player of the year, right? Comeback player of the year award.
My junior year, right.
Yes. What happened? What did you come back from?
So my sophomore year at Notre Dame, I got arrested. I got pulled over, and I got arrested for smoking marijuana, for smoking weed. And I got suspended from school. So I lost that whole second semester of my sophomore year. I was home. I was back in Staten Island. And this is actually a big part of my story, which I'd like to get into, which actually relates back to Jerry Mosley. But so I lost that whole second semester. I lost the whole Big East season of my sophomore year. And so my junior year, that's when I won the quote unquote comeback player of the year when I came back. And I was first team All Big East that year. That was 2007, 2008.
Wow, brother. Salute to you, man.
Yeah,
Salute to you.
it was,
And at that point, we as ball players, you know, when ball is taken from us, we feel like we're rock bottom. Who helped you get up out of that rut?
so that was the darkest time of my life, man. Because, you know, I had everything, and I was actually given the ball, you know, to start that season, my sophomore season. I was a starting point guard, and we were off to a hell of a run too. We just beat Alabama, who was number 4 at the time, at home, and we beat Maryland in DC, who they were ranked in the top 25 at the time. So we had broken the top 25 2 weeks prior, and I was playing great. Team was gelling, and then that happened. So that was tough, man. That was tough. So who helped me get through it? I mean, my family, of course, was very supportive of me. Jerry Mosley, he said, "Why don't you come work out with us?" But what I started to do was I started to train the younger players who went to see Jerry. So now that became sort of like, all right, I'm going to work out, but I'm also going to mentor and teach these kids through this process. And that was a good 6 months while I was in Staten Island before I went back to Notre Dame that I did that with him.
That's dope, man. That's dope. You didn't only look out for yourself, you looked out for other people.
You know, nah, man, they picked me up, you know, like that was huge for me because I was kind of lost at the time. I hadn't decided, because it was crazy, man. Like, I was getting re-recruited by all these other schools, Michigan State, Virginia, Xavier, and I was thinking about transferring. So I was kind of lost. And then, you know, being able to just, and this is why to this day, this is just what I'm about. I'm just about the game. Like, I just love the game because the game, I owe the game everything. During this time when I was so lost, I was able to just immerse myself into the game and help these kids, work with these kids who, from my neighborhood, from my area, that looked up to me, wanted to get to where I wanted to get to, and that they gave me something, you know.
Wow. It's a great story, man. Great story.
Thank you.
So, with all your loyalty, because I remember back then when you was talking about you wanted to follow your guy who was at Columbia, right? Because the loyalty he showed to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What made you go back to Notre Dame?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just something about how I was raised, like, you know, and if I would have left, in some ways, it's like you don't take accountability for your mistakes. So for me, going back was, you know, it was important to me, I guess, you know, at the time, to just finish what I started. And by going back, I'm also acknowledging that, hey, I made a mistake here, and I own up to that. But I'm here to finish what I started, and that was a pivotal moment in my life because I think I matured and I grew up, and you know, it humbled me beyond belief. So, you know, Coach Bray was really great throughout the process. He flew to New York. Came to Staten Island. He met with me and my parents, and then my teammates out in South Bend were, you know, who to this day are like family to me. Like they were amazing through the process too. So that all of that tied into, you know, me going back there.
And you finished what you started. That's the most important thing.
Yes. Yep.
Wow. So come to the end of the ride, right? At Notre Dame, and now we want to continue. Did you have it in your hearts of hearts to know that you wanted to go to the next level?
Oh yeah, that I never had a plan B. You know, it was always just, I'm gonna play until I can't play anymore. So for me, it was, you know, like I said, in my senior year, I was starting to see the difference level of 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 size and athletic ability that I just didn't have. So I started to get a grip on reality a little bit, and I started to think about, well, if I can't make the league, I'm going to go play somewhere. You know, I'm just going to play as long as I can and take this as far as I can and continue to get better. And that's what I wound up doing. I played summer league with the Clippers following my senior year. Thought I did everything I needed to do to go to camp with them, but unfortunately, you know, things, you know, 2 + 2 doesn't always equal 4 in the NBA, and
Right.
there's a lot of turnover with rosters, and there's so many moving parts, and it's not as easy as, oh, you play well and you make it. There's so many other factors at play. So that was my one cup of coffee, and then I went from there. I went into the D League for a year, and then I went overseas.
Nice. Where did you go overseas?
Where?
Yes.
I went to, so I was in the D League for a year. From there, I was on this D League select team, which was an amazing experience. We got to go to China for a couple weeks. Then I went to Greece for a year, and then I went to France, where I played for 7 years.
How did you do in the D League before you went overseas? How was that experience?
I loved it. I loved it. We played like 3 or 4 games a week. The travel was brutal. It was brutal. You would fly.
And it wasn't like Notre Dame's travel.
Oh man, it was, yeah. It was a grind, man. But it was like, I loved it because, like I said, you play 3 or 4 games a week. I didn't have any money at the time, so any money I was making was positive. And you know, we played a lot. I got a lot better. My game improved so much that year, and you know, it kind of reinvigorated me a little bit. I fell more in love with the game during my time in the G League. So it was a great year for me. I had some great coaches. I met some great people. I loved it. I loved it.
Nice. And your time in France, you say you spent how many years out there?
France, I was in France for 7 years. So
How was that? And do you speak any French?
yeah, I'm you know, I'm 2.5 years removed now, but I was pretty fluent by the end of it. I was pretty fluent.
Can you give me an example of something?
Man.
Because listen, let me tell you, I had Kim Hampton on here,
Okay.
and she played like 13 years overseas. In every country she went to, she learned the language. I thought that was amazing.
No, that's
I only know English,
it's
so if
amazing.
you just say one thing, I'll be impressed.
Je suis très heureux pour parler avec toi.
And what is that?
I'm very happy to be talking with you.
Salute, salute. Appreciate that, brother.
Yeah.
So now,
so I was in France for 7 years.
what was your best year in France?
My best year was my last year, and my third year in France, and was probably, we were in the first division. I was first team all-star. I think I averaged like 15 points. I was 50, 40, 90 pretty much every year, but that year I particularly shot really well. And we had a really good team. We were in first place most of the season. That was probably the highest level. But my last year playing, we were in the second division, and that I played my best basketball my last year. So.
And what made you stop? Like, this is like,
yeah, so
you thought you just hit that peak, and it was like, okay, time to go, one more time?
There were some things physically that, you know, it was getting a little difficult to keep up the grind, so to speak. You know, 2 practices a day over there is a lot, and then summer workouts. So my body was feeling a little something, but you know, family. I had my son and my daughter during my last couple of years playing, and traveling back and forth and missing them became, you know, really difficult. And my wife and I, after a lot of conversations, you know, if the right job came along, then we would stop. We would, you know, I will move on, and as long as I'm still involved in the game, I'll be happy. And you know, the to me, the right job to leave playing came along, and it was a chance to go back home and see what life is like outside of playing.
And look, luckily you had that job that you could go to, because you know, a lot of us ball players had that hard time transitioning to the real world.
No doubt. No, but I have my, you know, still I miss the game. You know, I still work out. I still work on my game because I love it. It's part of me. But it's when you don't have that competitive outlet and you stop, it's part of your identity. And that's why for me, whenever I get in those, my thoughts start coming about how much I miss playing, I just try and be grateful that I'm still part of the game. And
That's right.
you know, you can find so much joy in this game that's outside of you pursuing your own professional career. And that's what I have today. And it's almost a better joy. You know, it's almost more, because now I can help kids. I can help all kinds of players at every different level. I can talk to coaches. I can talk to you about the game, and I can do more things.
Dope. So how was it going back to your alma mater, and was it hard for you to leave?
Well, yes, it was very hard. Just to answer the second part of your question, it was really hard. But going back, it was amazing 2 years for me, man, because you know, for me it was a chance to try and give back a little bit, to come home, to be around friends and family, be around my Moore family, and it was great. I met a lot of great kids too, that I feel like I tried to pour my heart into these kids, and hopefully I affected them in some small way. But it was a great 2 years. I had no intentions of leaving, but man, such a great opportunity came my way, and you know, I had to you know, keep on this journey of where this game has taken me.
Well, the one thing you did, you had a chance to go back. A lot of guys don't go back, right? And you had the opportunity to do it in a big way and be the head coach. So even with 1 year, 2 years, you gave your time.
Thank
so
you.
Salute to you, brother.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
No doubt. So now you're an agent.
Yeah. So let me give you
Okay,
the story.
give me the backstory, because maybe you can give some people some insight on what an agent does.
Yeah, I'll definitely get there. Here's how it came to. So one of my boys from Notre Dame, who was a walk-on when I was there, one of my best friends, he's been an agent for Priority Sports for about 8 years. And he
hold on. Because I need you to say this again. Kids need to hear this. He was a what?
He was an agent.
No, before that.
He was an agent. Oh, he was a walk-on at Notre Dame.
He was a walk-on, right? Probably the most important guy on the team. Go ahead.
He's the smartest guy I know. I mean, he's great at what he does. So he's been an agent with Priority Sports about 8 years. And so he calls me about 2 years ago, and he said, would you have any interest? Because at the time I'm coaching more, but I'm also I'm still involved in training younger players. I love working with kids and teaching them the game. He said, would you be interested in training Gordon Hayward with the Celtics? Gordon at the time, he's trying to get back to who he was in Utah before the injury. If you follow the league, if you remember Gordon's injury, first play of the game with the Celtics, he had a devastating leg injury that, you know, he's still not fully recovered from. But he's starting to recover from, and he's looking for someone to train with that does things a little bit differently, that's going to be able to come up to Boston and is going to help him get back to his all-star form. And I said, yeah, of course I'd be interested in doing that. So I did it. That's what I did. So via working with Gordon, who, by the way, he had a record-setting year last year. Not toot my own horn, but had to throw that in there.
Now, hey, brother, you from New York, brother. We gonna take that credit.
Yeah. So I developed a really good relationship with his agent, who's Mark Bartelstein, who's a big-time heavy hitter in the league. And
Yeah.
we developed a really good, trusting relationship. And he presented me with an opportunity to come work for him full-time, and that's what I do now. So I'm out here.
Yo, man, that's awesome. That's so awesome, Cal.
Thank you. And so, you know, to your question about what does an agent do, there's a lot of misunderstandings behind this, man. And it's part of the reason what attracted me to doing it was to try and change that narrative a little bit. So negotiating contracts, marketing deals, all that stuff, that's a certain part of it. But that's like 5% of it. What we really do, and what I believe we do better than everybody else, is we manage a player's career. We build their career. And that is always moving. It's fluid. One day it's dealing with an injury. The next day it's talking them through something about their game. What I do specifically is I try and come at things within the company for all of our guys, including Gordon. Anything between the lines kind of comes through me. So free agency videos that we break down. I do a lot of individual skill breakdown videos for guys. I do a lot of film work. I'm sort of their bridge from who they want to become in their careers and what their team is trying to tell them to do.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And that's cool. I think kids need to hear this. Young people need to hear this and know that there's other things that you can do besides be the star on the basketball team, because your guy is the walk-on.
Yeah. Yep.
And he was the first one, probably with a real job and was stable, while the other guys who were playing were still hunting for a team to play for.
It's true, man. But I think there is the message, I think, to me should be like, you know, and this is what I try and tell myself this every day. Like, there is no end game. The end game is the game. It's basketball.
Yes.
Like, and it's in trying to get better every day, to learn more about the game, to put yourself in a position where you can watch the game every day. You can talk about it. Like, to me, that's the end game. It's just being immersed into this game of basketball. And if you're a kid that all you want to do is make the NBA, well, that's great, but it's important that there's at least some education out there on all these opportunities around the game. And especially for us former players, I didn't ever think about becoming an agent, because I always had this specific mindset or view of what an agent is, and it wasn't ever a good one for me. So I think there's got to be more awareness for younger people who love this game, that there's so many opportunities within and around this game where you can make a living or just stay involved in it.
Yeah, man. Z Taylor said, can you ask Cal if he deals with more NBA overseas players?
Right now, I work with about 5 or 6 of our NBA guys, and starting probably next year, you know, I'll be dealing with more of our players, so probably more overseas guys. But we do both, man. We do both.
No doubt. You know, now that you played at some of the highest levels, right, in the game, would you like to give our youngsters some last words before we get out of here?
Once again, for me, I identify with the work. And the reason why is I think I can sleep at night knowing no matter what happens, I gave this everything that I have. And I think for the youngsters out there who are listening, or maybe this message gets to them, if you love this game, I don't care how talented you are. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what you look like. Like if you identify yourself with the work, like, you know, positive outcomes will happen. And that doesn't mean if you're the hardest worker, you're automatically going to be the best player. It doesn't work like that either. But, you know, work. If you're young and you want to be good, you better be working, because I'll tell you, being out there, the hardest, well, I'll say this, professional basketball players are the hardest working basketball players. Division I basketball players are the hardest working basketball players. You know, everybody thinks they want to go D1. Do you have a D1 work ethic?
Yeah.
You know, one workout a day. D1 players are doing 2, 3 workouts a day. You know, so I you know, just identify with the work, and you'll be better off no matter what.
No doubt. All right, Kyle, let's have some fun, man. Give me your top 5 players from Staten Island.
I was waiting for this question, man. So, and I was thinking about it too. Like, there's a few different directions that I think we could go with this, because people from Staten Island, man, they love this debate so much. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. But who are the top 5 high school players in high school? Who are the top 5 collegiate players? Who are the top 5 players who've had professional careers?
Top 5 in your book. Like, when you go top 5, and you picking the top 5 in Cal McAloney's Wall of Fame, who's on there?
Andrew Wisniewski, Sandy Brock. The Martin family counts as one, man, to me. They count as one. They count as one. I can't put
Salute.
multiple,
Yes.
you know, family members in there. So, yeah, it starts getting. So I'm gonna this is.
It's coming from the GOAT, so you know everybody listening.
It's hard, man. Timmy Highland, because he influenced me so much. And if people saw him play, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. He was the first one to shoot from 5, 10 feet out from the 3-point line. Man, I gave the Martins only one. You know, I gotta reach back and say Greg Pedro from St.
Greg Pedro,
Yeah.
St. Peter's great. Yes.
And
the only city championship from Staten Island, right? Is that the only
Correct.
city championship?
That's correct.
And they beat Kenny Smith and them. They beat Malloy and them.
Yep.
What about Kenny Page? Kenny Page, Ohio State great, Staten Island great.
Yeah, you know, for some reason or another, I heard more about Pedro, so I don't know much.
No, Kenny Page a long time ago. Yes, 70s guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, and I'm gonna throw a few other names out there just because it's so hard.
Okay.
For me personally, the best like players, I think Zaire Taylor is very underrated. I think he needs, just from a pure what he can do on the basketball court. He played at Mizzou. I think they went to the Sweet 16 when he was there.
I think somebody sent me something on him today.
Okay.
Somebody DM'd me something on him today. Yes.
Okay. Ryan Rossiter from Monsignor Farrell, who played at Siena. I want to say he led the nation in rebounding. 1 year, definitely, maybe even 2 years. He played at Siena. He's playing in Japan now, having a hell of an overseas career. His brother was very good. Doug Elwell. He was a 4-year player at Monsignor Farrell. Played at Wagner College. I said the Martin family, you know, their younger brother now is the next one. He's I watched.
Is that Malik Martin?
The younger brother, is it? I think they have.
No, not Malik Martin. He's the younger one. I think he's like in 7th or 8th grade.
Yes.
Yes.
He's the next one, man. He's the next one.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and I could keep going with the names, but I really, for me, Andrew Wisniewski, you try and get him on. He's for me, he's probably he's up there, number one.
Who's the park legend?
I'll leave that.
Who's the park legend at Staten Island? Who's the park legend? Like this guy, he didn't really play high school ball. He didn't really go to college. But tournament time, he shut the park down.
That's what I'm saying, Zaire Taylor. Zaire Taylor, probably the hardest cover that I've seen on Staten Island. You know, there's another guy, Jonathan Myers, who I know still plays in a lot of these tournaments. Who I mean, he developed late, and I think he's probably one of the best players on Staten Island right now.
Wow.
Zaire Taylor, though, man. Zaire Taylor.
Yo, we're gonna get you on, Zaire. We're gonna make that happen for sure.
And yeah, I wish I had some video, because at Mizzou he was a different player. You know, at Mizzou I think they played 40 minutes of hell, you know, so they were pressing the whole game and everything. But when you watch him, his length and what he can do with the basketball is special.
Dope. All right. Last question before we get out of here.
That's right, man. I didn't say LB. Lawrence Bora.
Who's that?
Lawrence Bora. He's in my 5. He's in my 5 for sure.
Got you.
He won the Jakes my sophomore year at Moore. He was a senior. Yeah. LB he played at Utah. He went to Utah after JUCO, I think. He was really good, man. Really, really good.
All right. You from New York, brother. Top 5 New York City basketball players all time. You only get 5.
Wow. Kenny Anderson, Steph, Stephon Marbury. You know, those, especially Stephon Marbury, I followed him early on. Who's your 5?
My 5?
Yeah.
My 5 is Tiny Archibald at the point guard.
Okay.
Chris Mullin at the 2.
Okay, Chris Mullin will be in my top 5. Yeah.
Okay. Small forward. I'm going with Bernard King.
Okay.
Power forward, Connie Hawkins.
Okay.
And center, the GOAT, Kareem.
Of course, Kareem. Yeah, Kareem.
See, and I'm looking at you as a team standpoint, right? As well. So we're going to balance this thing out a little bit. A lot of guys are picking a whole bunch of scorers.
Yeah.
Got some scorers on my team, but I think my 5 will take out anybody's 5.
That's tough. So Kenny Anderson or Stephon Marbury wouldn't even be in there, huh?
Well, you know, those are my younger guys. Remember, Steph, I'm a Lincoln guy, right?
Gotcha.
So I watched Steph come up, I was in between the families.
Gotcha.
Kenny, another guy, love him, but you know, that's my peer.
You're from Brooklyn, you said.
I'm from Brooklyn, yes.
So when I was playing, the 2 best players in the city were me and Levance Fields.
Yes, Zavarian great.
Zavarian. I was going to go to Zavarian.
What happened? I didn't know this. We should have talked about this early on. What happened?
I was going to go to Zavarian. And by the way, my senior year, Zavarian won the city. And I was going to go there I was going to go there my freshman year. What happened was my parents didn't want to commit me to going into Brooklyn every day and trying to get back, and would have been just too much. My brother was already at Moore, so it was just a lot more convenient for everybody, and it wound up working out. But
it makes sense. It makes sense.
But Levance was
Nowadays, kids is traveling from Jersey to Manhattan. They traveling all over the place.
yeah. But Levance was the real deal, man. He was the real deal.
Yeah, I kind of I put up a post that said that there's a new kid at the school. Oh man, his name Fletcher, Sean Fletcher, point guard there now. And I said him and Paco. I said was another great point guard since Paco Screen. You know, that's my era, right? Dude was like, yo, you forgot about Levance. How you go to Levance? So
Yeah.
I definitely have to show him some love.
Yeah.
He's definitely a beast and definitely respect everything he did, especially he put it down the pit as well.
Yeah. Yep. He was. Yeah. We were there together, so we would play each other every year.
Look at that, man. New York City, man. Yo, we so proud of you, man. Just want to let you know that.
This was
You
a
know.
lot of fun, man. I love coming on and sharing my story and talking hoops, and then of course, you know, hopefully bringing some love to Staten Island. But you know, I love everything that you're doing, man. I'm gonna watch every single one of these. This is so fun to me. So, you know, I appreciate you and everything you're doing. The other guy you got to get on, I'm gonna get him on because he knows Staten Island basketball better than anybody. Is Elliot Wilson. I'm gonna get my guy E on. He'd love to be on something like this, and also Coach Tibbs at CSI. You gotta get him.
Yes, for sure. We're gonna make that happen. I actually have something for you because we come on Basketball Heads. You know, we treat our guests right. So.
Wow. You got. How do I get that, man?
Well, you just take care of the post and the handle and the packaging, and it's yours. That's it.
Done.
That's it. You know, whatever you got paid for is for it to get to you. Other than that, this is yours, man.
Wow. Is that Jamel, right? Jamel, thank you so
Jamel
much.
Powell, our resident artist. And he also played for Jackson High School for the great Chuck Granby.
Okay.
So he got you, the Irish. He got you with the 23 right here, man. You see that?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No doubt, my brother. I appreciate you. And keep making us proud, man. Wherever you go, you represent us, New York City basketball.
Thank you, man. Anything you need, man, let me know. I love what
We're
you're
gonna
doing.
We're going to connect. We'll speak. I get you this picture, and then you send me those names. You get the, look, once you get the show, you get to nominate as many people as you want. Because we're going to do Staten Island right.
Thank you so much. Thank you, man.
No doubt. Salute.
Y'all ready?